John and Yoko, Mr. and Mrs. Lennon, I have an idea for a happening.
Oh.
Let's let the audience ask us anything that happens to be on its mind.
Wow, that's real crazy, Dick. I'd really like to do it. Well, far out, man.
Where's your nerve, baby? Oh, there's already a man in the aisle. How convenient. Yes?
I'd like to know how you write your songs and how you think your songs have progressed since you first started.
The man would like to know how I write my songs.
No, I prefer...
How you write your songs and how the songs have progressed since...
Since you first started.
Since you first started.
Well, there's many ways, all the combinations you can think of, either sitting at the piano and having a word that you write a song around, or having a word and playing the guitar, or you have a guitar chord change, any combination of that. The best ones are usually inspirational, which will just sort of come, you know, when you're not expecting it, and you just go and write it out almost in full. The earlier songs, in the early days, Paul and I, we wanted to be the Goffin and King of England, you know. Goffin and King were very big those days, and we used to want to be Buddy Holly and Goffin King, etc. And so we wrote pop songs with a kind of mind that that's a pop song, you know, like Bubblegum, and that's real life. And I used to write sort of in his own right, and the books I wrote then, like Spaniards in the Work, with one half of my brain, and the other half I sort of would churn out pop song. And then with the advent of Dylan and a few other interesting people I'd meet or hear about, I suddenly realized I was being silly and that I should put all my energy into writing the song, into the lyric. So then I transferred any writing ability I had completely to the songs. And the song lyric got better and the structure of the words got better, and they became as important as the tune then. And then I think the songs are better. I've had a lot more experience than I had when I was 20. I'm older, and it's true you get more experience because there's just more time span, that's all. And so your songs get more experienced, and there is a tendency for them to get a bit, you know, like you can rip them off easy. But I try not to write songs anymore unless I really want to. You know, I no longer have to, oh, the Beatles need an album, you and Paul better go and write 20 songs tomorrow kind of thing. I just write when I feel like, you know.
That must be nice, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Cool. Let's say, here's a gentleman right here. How have drugs affected your music writing?
Drugs have not affected my music writing any more than cornflakes, living in America, not living in America, going on tour, living with 4 men, living with 1 woman. The drugs were no more a help or a hindrance to creating, you know, and I don't believe in creation, but to writing songs than any other experience I've had in life. None was more important, i.e. drugs are not more important than my environment. I think my environment is more important than any drugs or outside influence that came when I was a teenager. I think most of the things I write about are basic things that come from me that I've had all my life, you know.
Man on the aisle there.
Do you listen to much music now? And if you do, what do you listen to?
Do you listen to much music now, and if so, what?
Well, I think like most artists, they get less time for listening to other people's music. You can either be an artist or the audience. Audience is always listening to other people's music. Artists are always creating their own music. I spend more time creating it and listening to my own because that's what I'm involved in. I like people like Yoko, of course. I like Zappa and a few people, Dr. John, and I like some of the pop music. I can't think of it offhand. They're just odd records I like that come out. I still am a rock and roll fan of early Presley, early Jerry Lee Lewis and all those people. You know, that's the music I really love, is rock and roll.
Anyone have a question for Yoko, or a question you can ask Yoko through John? There's a lady there, or vice versa. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's no lady. This one.
Yell it out and I'll repeat it.
I want to know how you, as a woman, feel about overpopulation in the world and its relation to polluting the environment.
How does Yoko feel about overpopulation? As a woman, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem is not overpopulation as people believe it to be, but it's more of the balance of things. What, you know, like food, some part of the world there's wastage of food, and in some parts, you know, nobody has food. That kind of a balance, if that is solved, I don't think we would be worried so much about overpopulation.
I think it's a bit of a joke the way people have made this overpopulation thing into a kind of myth. I don't really believe it, you know. I think whatever happens will balance itself out and work itself out. It's all right for us all living saying, oh, well, there's enough of us, so we won't have any more. Don't let anybody else live. I don't believe in that. I think we've got enough food and money to feed everybody. And I think the natural balance, even though old people will last longer, I'm sure there's enough room for us, and some of them can go to the moon anyway.
You mean you think there's enough if it were
I don't believe overpopulation, you know. I think that's just a kind of myth that the government have thrown out to keep your mind off Vietnam and Ireland and all the important subjects.
Oh, I think you're wrong about that.
Oh, I don't care.
Yes, gentleman there. He doesn't care.
It seems that a while back, as people followed you, you were really into peace at any, not at any cost, but just very peaceful. Peaceful means for the revolution. And I read an article in Ramparts, and you were into violent revolution. And now...
I'm not.
Well, that's what it stated.
No, the article in Ramparts was basically about socialism, right? And I don't believe in violent revolution. Yoko stated it very well, which is violent revolutionaries are playing the same establishment game. I believe in some of the things Jerry Rubin and A.B. Hoffman have done, like the theatre in court kind of revolution. I believe in the revolution of happening, and that artists, Yoko says artists don't create. Any woman can create, a man can destroy with a Coke bottle, and an artist revalues. If I'm a revolutionary, or we are revolutionaries, we're revolutionary artists, not gunmen. I believe in the Black Panther original statement, the 10-point program, which is not violent, which says to defend yourself against attack. I might consider that, but anything else I don't consider. So I'm still for peace, peaceful revolutionary. But I'm an artist first and a politician second.
I don't know if the article was wrong or not, but it stated you were saying in your song Revolution.
What?
That in your song Revolution.
Yeah.
You wanted to change a few of the words from count me in to count me out, or count me out to count me in.
I have both versions. Revolution, there's 3 versions. Number 1, number 2, and number 9. Number 9 is an abstract picture of revolution. Number 1 was the single because the other boys didn't like number... No, the number 2 is the single because the other boys didn't like number 1. They said it wasn't fast enough, so I made it fast. And sometimes I said, count me in, count me out. The thing I regret was making a reference to Chairman Mao, which might spoil any chances I have of going to visit China, like those ping pong people do. I'd love to go and see what's happening there. But I wrote the Chairman Mao line in the studio because I didn't have any words. What I was trying to say to the Maoists, or anybody that wanted to change the world, why go and stand in front of a policeman with a red communist flag in your hand and a big suit and all like that, and then get hit? I thought it was unsubtle. So in the song, I wasn't putting down revolution. I was saying, isn't that a bit unsubtle? But if you want to really change the thing, do it subtly in a way that the establishment can't attack, i.e. theatre in court and or bed events, 2 virgins, things like that, things that the establishment don't understand, therefore they can't kill it.
Yeah, well, the last part of my question was...
Could we, gentleman down here now. Sorry.
You wrote a letter to the Voice in defense of Yoko as an artist.
And myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
what is the question?
It was a rather strong letter.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you've regretted it since, especially in the light of the strong reaction that it has provoked.
I don't mind if a few fat liberals got excited about my letter. Some guy wrote a letter. One of the replies to the letter I wrote was, it's nice to see how well John and Yoko take to criticism. The letter wasn't criticism. It said, A, our films wouldn't be shown unless we were John and Yoko. I said, that's a lie. I think our filmmaking stands on its own. That'll be proved by them standing on their own. They've been accepted in many festivals. I don't see why Mr. Carlton can't accept them. He said Yoko was a has-been artist that was no good anyway. He's never seen her work, read her books, or seen any of our films. Now, instead of going into an intellectual, liberal load of guff, I just told him to sod off.
And did he?
Yeah, I hope he did. I don't feel like spending... I'm not an intellectual. I'm not articulate. I'm working class, and I use few words. I use the words that the people around me used when I was a child. I talk like that. So if somebody's going to say a lot of shit, I'll say a lot of shit. It's as simple as that, you know?
But the way
Don't say too much shit.
Hey, how about if I go... You can insert it. This is to insert.
Yes. I'm trying to find someone where we have a microphone. Yes.
I was wondering if, like, last year we had a big thing about Paul McCartney being dead.
Yeah.
And I was wondering how much of it was planned and how much was planned by you.
It had nothing to do with me. The first, there is a rumor that he is dead, actually, but the first I heard about it was in the press, you know, or from, I don't know how it happened. It's a mystery to Paul, it was a mystery to me. None of us knew what it was about or whatever. But of course they credited it to me or Paul, saying, you know, that it was publicity seeking, and we did it. It was too far out for us to have thought of it, you know. And it wasn't a very, I don't know, it was a peculiar thing. I don't know what it was about.
Do you and Paul speak?
We have spoken. I spoke to him about an hour or so on the phone about 3 weeks ago. That was the last time I spoke. But I hugged George 2 days ago, and I sent a postcard to Ringo last week, all right?
We're back.
Yes.
You wanted to say something about
I just wanted to
artists.
add quickly to what John said about artists and all that, was that, you know, artists can give some sort of, offer sense of humor to life, which relax people, and it would, you know, make people less violent and all that. And, you know, this Village Boys thing that he wrote, I thought it was beautiful because it was almost like literature, you know, the usage of words and all that was sort of, his fantastic vocabulary that I could never dream of having. And it's just sort of beautiful. And, you know, if you take it with a sense of humor, it was beautiful. And, you know, American culture, what American culture offered to the world in the last 50 years or something, I believe, personally, is sense of humor. And, you know, people like Andy Warhol, who's a fantastic, original, beautiful artist that you have, you know, added something very important to the art world, of, you know, the whole world, which is sense of humor.
That's right, he did, and
yes,
a lot of people still don't get the joke.
Still laughing.
Right.
Yeah. What do you want to know about me? I know that I'm an international enigma, and that there are things that
I've heard the first thing babies say now is Dick Cavett, you know, when they smack them.
That's right.
I'd like to know about some things about you. Things like, when we first met, you brought me that album of Sioux music, Sioux Indian music. I'd like to know how interested you are in Indians, and are you interested in, quotes, the Red Revolution and power for the Red Indian, you know, that kind of thing. Are you interested?
Yeah.
You know, what are American people doing for Indians? That's a big question over in Europe.
Yeah, I'm getting more and more interested in that. First, I was just interested in Indians like a kid at the cowboy movies, you know, and that's how it started. And then I come from the Midwest, where there are well, there are Indians everywhere. But I mean, I used to see some as a kid, and then I don't know. I guess you just develop a feeling that's so tragic, that whole period of My Lai-like incidents, the Sand Creek Massacre, the Custer's wiping out of the Indians at
I just heard something very interesting on the what are those Indians down, the Incas and those other ones that could write? Well,
Aztecs and
the Mayans.
Oh, the Mayans, yeah.
I was reading, somebody on TV was talking about how when the Spanish came, these priests burned for 30 days all the Mayan books. So there was none left, and his reason was, it's either the word of God, and we've already got that, so we'll destroy it, and if it isn't, it's the work of the devil. So they destroyed the whole Mayan culture, literature, which was very good and very aware, and there was about 3 books left which sort of say, you know, got up and went to work, and there's not enough words for them to work out what the language was.
That's right, this one man destroyed a whole written
one-up for Christianity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the man who led the Indians against, who led the cavalry against the Indians at the Sand Creek Massacre was a man of the cloth.
Oh yeah.
Not that all.
You had
men of the cloth
you had an interesting Indian on your show you were telling me about too.
I have. I had a man who was also a great authority on Indians.
He was at Custer's Last Stand or something.
No, he was a friend of Curly, who was Custer's scout, John Nyhart.
You didn't know he was an Indian freak, did you? So
but
what
the
about
thing
the
is
Red
that you
Revolution
feel like
then?
Maybe you could.
What's going to happen?
You feel so frustrated at what was done to the Indians in the past that you feel like you should do something for their descendants now, who are still getting it six ways.
Illiterate and not educated, not looked after. I mean, they're like, I don't know if they're having it worse than black people here, but it's pretty rough for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very bad, and I think it's good that people have a sense of conscience about it and are doing something about it.
Well, they've made so much money out of the Indians. At first they took the land, and then they made movies about them taking the land, you know? It's a bit mean, you know. But we always used to stick up for the Indians in Britain on the movies, you know?
I heard that in one movie they were making in which they did the Custer battle, which has never been done well on the screen, but anyway, they used the crows as the ones who attacked Custer.
Yeah.
Whereas actually the crows were the scouts for Custer.
Oh, I see.
And the Sioux, who were working on the picture, were furious and said if it hadn't been for us, there wouldn't have been any Custer battle.
Well, it's like Nixon having a Japanese watch, isn't it?
Having a what?
Japanese watch, you know.
Does he have a Japanese watch?
He does, yeah, with a Spiro Agnew watch. He has Japanese watch.
I didn't realize
But what's happening with the India? I mean, what are they doing for them, you know? Don't they legally really own the land?
Not
like
enough.
Manhattan and that?
Interestingly enough, some conservative politicians seem to be more concerned for the Indians than some liberal politicians.
Maybe they've realized how many there are on the whole American continent, including the South.
How many
People
votes
think there's only a few Indians left. There's millions of them in the whole continent of America, which includes South America. And one day they're going to be asking for their rights. I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't standing next to the black people, too. Yeah. So it's either give now or die later, I reckon.
What else do you want to know about me?
I'd like to know where you got your shirt.
Where I got my shirt?
Very nice.
It is rather nice, isn't it? I was going to ask you the same question.
Well, it's very funny. I was in a German airport, and I had an American Army Mac on, and a guy came up and said, I've just got out of the Army in Vietnam, and if you like these clothes, I'd love to give you them. I said, all right. And he sent me all these Army clothes through the post. It's very nice. A few years ago, that was.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yes.
Do you like my shirt?
What do you want to be remembered by?
What do I want to be remembered by?
For. Remembered for, yes.
I don't know. I don't feel that I've done anything yet to be remembered for, with the exception of tonight's program.
I've asked this of a lot of people,
Because I was
Dick.
asking,
What's your definition of love?
My definition of love is never having to read Love Story.
Do you know what mine is?
Yes, you should tell
You can ask me mine. I'll tell you what mine is. Love is having to say you're sorry every 5 minutes. See, that guy doesn't know anything about love. He's obviously never been in love. Whatever his name is, you know, Fred Siegel or something.